Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nayaswami Padma, and I'm here today to bring you today's noontime broadcast on inspiration from the original teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Today I'm reading from Swami Kriyananda's autobiography, The New Path Again, this wonderful little story he relates from the time with Yogananda. In that episode, which I related in a prior chapter, of the famous artist whose portrait of Lahiri Mahashai failed to win Yogananda's approval, Paramahansaji asked him, "How long did it take you to master your art?" 20 years, the man replied. 20 years, the master exclaimed, to convince yourself you could paint? This wasn't at all the comment the artist was expecting. Taken aback, he fluttered furiously. "I'd like to see you do as well in twice that length of time." "Give me 1 week," the master replied calmly. Taking paintbrush in hand, he made several false starts, attuning himself more sensitively each time to the source of all true inspiration. By the end of the week, he had completed a portrait which the artist himself was forced to concede was better than his own. Well, of course, the key in this little illustration is that he attuned himself sensitively each time to the source of all true inspiration. And I think the other part that I find most helpful in this illustration is that all things are possible by God, all things are possible in God. And if God is in me, that means all things are possible through me if I get out of the way. So one way to attune ourselves to the divine is to try to magnetize ourselves to divine love, joy, to divine concepts, knowledge, wisdom, and so on. The other way is, or the other part of that equation for you and me, is to allow our egos, or to force our egos, make our egos get out of the way, and allow the divine light to shine through us as it always does. But it becomes blocked by the non-transparent, the surface of the ego that creates the shadow that bounces off, that the divine has to bounce off of and can't get through us. And so God waits. We can keep that ego, keep building it, keep filling it with ever more, self-aggrandizement and all the things that the ego loves. Or we can decide at a certain point that we're not going to feed the ego, and we're going to ask periodically as we can, and as we build our own spiritual muscle, ask the ego more and more to step out of the way and allow the light to come through. And that's what he was saying in this story, that by attuning himself to the source, even though he wasn't a trained painter, he could paint in a week's time what a professional painter had taken 20 years to do, to create. And so we can apply that story in our own lives and learn to do these twofold things: attune ourselves to that higher source and discipline our ego to stand out of the way so that that divine source can flow more freely through us. Joy to you, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Many blessings.